If you're like me, a comic book artist still living in the paper age trying to get your page to turn into a usable digital file, it can be daunting, especially if the page doesn't fit the scanner. Today, I'll show you how you can scan your original art and get it all in your computer without buying an expensive, oversized 17-inch capacity scanner. Hi, I'm Tim Larsen. I'm a comic book artist, co-writer, and creator of my 6-part story called Mayfield 8. Mayfield 8 is a raunchy, violent Grind-House-style story set in the 1970s involving biker gangs, car chases, illegal narcotics, and a bribable state trooper. 17-year-old Calvin Ryder goes on a Mexico road trip on his Honda motorcycle and messes with the wrong people. You can read part 1 for free by subscribing to my newsletter at subscribe.timsnotebook.com. Links in the description below. Let's begin with today's problem. Yes, I'm cheap. I've used an everyday standard paper size scanner to upload my Photoshop files, and it's worked just fine for me. The technique I use is to make 3 passes over your page: a top, a middle, and a bottom pass. Alright, so here's that page I'm talking about. And here's my scanner. It's nothing special. A Canon, get my glasses on here. It's a Canon CanoScan LIDE 100. It's an antique, okay? You can pick up scanners on Craigslist for like $5 or $30, and all they have to do is be able to scan at a resolution that's high enough, usually 300 dot per inch. In this case, this one works just fine for my purposes. And so the trick is, like, of course, it's not going to fit this way, right? A what is this, 11-inch by 17 Bristol board comic book page needs to be scanned into this unit so it will fit. And a trick I've done is, you imagine that you're scanning this in 3 passes. There'll be the top third, there'll be the middle, and then the bottom third. You do this in 3 passes where the paper sits sideways on the scanner bed. This scanner can accept 12 inches. That's why I built this little cardboard filler and these little paper clip hold downs to hold the paper down to kind of eliminate the shadows. And then on the paper itself, midway through, I drew a little line. That's the center of the paper, and there's a corresponding line that's the center of the scanner image right here. So the first pass, I would slip it in here, close the lid, go to my computer, make the scan. And the second pass, I would move this up so that this paper is right in the middle of the scanner and it's lined up to the middle of your area. And it's important when you put these together in Photoshop that you make sure that the page is riding against one edge all the time. That eliminates any problem to get your page aligned. It'll just look a little bit better if you have at least one edge that you know you're trying to keep consistent with the 3 scans. So that'd be the middle one, okay? Then finally, with the page hitting it on the edge here, close, that'd be the third one. Now let's go to the screen and see what I do with those 3 scans. I have on the screen here the scanner application for the Canon scanner, and I want to have the setting. In this case, it's an inked page, so I'll put the setting to text. And what text means is that it's going to turn it into a TIFF file is going to look at just strictly black and white, no shades of gray, and it's going to reduce everything as much as it can to as much of a high contrast image as possible. This is going out to the printer eventually, so we want to set the resolution at 300 dot per inch. And now here's the size question here. We'll use a custom size, and it's let's see, at 300 dot per inch, 3300 pixels. This direction here is going to be the width of the page, and this is going to be the height cut up into thirds. Now, if you do 12-inch, no, 15 plus 2, 17-inch tall page times 300 dots, the height of the page would be 5,100 pixels. You divide that by 3, you get 1,700 pixels, but what you want to do is add a half an inch to account for overlap. In that case, a half inch would be 150 pixels, so 1,700 plus 150 equals 1,850. So we would change this size, like the width of the area, to 1,850, 1850. Okay. Now you see the marquee here, the selection is narrower, and the machine is going to scan the top side of each pass on this document is going to be on the left side. So I would move the marquee here to scan the top of my comic. Then I would move it right in the middle of this. It's corresponding to the scanner bed, so I would scan the middle of the comic page, and then the bottom of the comic page would be the right side. Okay, so let's begin. Let's move this marquee right at the beginning, and we'll give this a name. This is Mayfield 8, Part 6, Page 3. So let's just go capital ME6 for the issue, dot, page 3, and then let's go dot 1 to designate, the top third of that. And then we will choose the file. I created a file here called Photoshop Temporary. We'll just choose that, okay? And then load my page in. Hit the scan. And then there's a few steps you have to perform, especially if you're going to do several pages at once, so you just get in the habit of doing them in the same order. Like, for example, I'm going to move the selection area to the middle to do the middle now. I'm going to change my name of the scan to ME6.3.2 now, okay? And then I go to the scanner bed itself and move my page up, centering it on that little white line that I showed you. Okay. Then lastly, we got the bottom part. Right? I guess it makes sense if you look at the screen and turn your head left, like you're going to sleep, okay? So up here, your eyes are looking up here, and your chin is down here. Okay. If you look at it this way, it makes sense because we're moving this page from the right to the left, and now the page, the bottom of it is right here. So we moved our selection. We'll change the name of that scan to ME6.3.3 for the third and final scan. Then we'll go ahead and run our scan. I then combined the three in Photoshop. Let's see how it's done in this real-time screen walkthrough. That I have in a folder called Photoshop Temporary. I'll double click them. On my Mac, they are viewed in a preview. And you notice they're all sideways here. So there's a trick you can do in preview. You select all, rotate right. That's under tools. There we go. And then you just close the window. And now they're all oriented horizontally. Then you drag these over into Photoshop. And then we hit, in Photoshop, we got an automated task called Photomerge. And we want to reposition. We don't want to blend the images together, not yet. We'll do that later. And then we add the open files. And then hit OK. Now the magic begins. And as you can see, it kind of figured out what I was doing. This isn't a perfect document yet, but as we have the top half, we have the middle, and we got the bottom. The layer orientation, I don't know why it is, but they always put the middle on the bottommost layer, so let's just correct that so that in Photoshop we got the top layer, middle layer, bottom layer. Excuse me. So let's first resize this to the size of a printed comic book page. It is exactly 60% smaller than my scan page. So we will take the image size, and then we choose percent. Of course, we're at 100% now, so we're going to knock that down to 60%. Okay, now it's the correct size for a printed comic book page, but it's still kind of rough. So what I want to do now is add about an inch outside. We're going to make this a little bigger than what we need temporarily. So we choose canvas size, and yes, we got it on relative, so that means it's going to add to what we have. Then we'll choose inches, and we'll go 2 inches on the height, 2 inches on the width. All right, and if it all worked out right, that's what you should be seeing. Now here's the trick in a couple of steps here. We are going to deal with just the top and the middle layer. The top layer, you choose something called multiply. Okay, and what multiply does is it makes anything white invisible. So let me choose my move tool. I'll move the top layer around a little bit, and you can see how that it kind of lines up in some spots, but it doesn't. So you want to get it lined up really good on one edge. We'll move way over. And actually, it's pretty good. Sometimes it's a little off on one side. but this one's pretty well on the money. So we'll go back to normal, taking it out of multiply, and then Command E to merge those two layers down to become one. Okay. Now we just have, here we have the top two layers, the middle and the top as one. We'll add that bottom layer, and again we'll make the top layer multiply. And so, like, see how that kind of is transparent on the top there? And we'll line that up. I'm having really good luck with the scanner this time. Now you can see it's a little bit, if I try nudging it maybe a little to the right. But then, okay, here we go. It's lined up on the right side. Let's take a look on the left side. You can see how that little tiny cigarette on the ground there is not quite lined up. You can choose various different kinds of transform tools. I like using skew. Skew will keep one side even, the other side move around. Like the right side of this whole layer is not moving, but the left side is moving around. Kind of like a wobbly table. Okay, that looks good. Hit the return key. And then another little extra here. Let's also transform scale. It scales proportionately unless you hold down the shift key. I'm holding down the shift key now because then it's making it just a little wider, but it's not affecting anything else. Okay, we'll hit the return, and there, I see I have it lined up pretty good. We'll get auto multiply to a normal layer. Okay, and then we'll Command E merge down. Now I have the three layers lined up, and they're seamless. They're pretty good. Okay, there's a lot of dirt and noise because I'm a terrible, noisy, old school comic book artist who's actually really inking these pages. So there's eraser crumbs. I don't care. I fix it in Photoshop later on. Okay, and but let's just take it to this point where we'll get it ready as a document. So now I go to a special file. I go to the Finder. Let's see, here we go. And then I made a folder called Tips and Tools. And I have comic cover template. That's where it is. So I could open it and copy and paste. I could open it and what do you call it? Duplicate the layer into this. But what I choose to do now is in Photoshop. Okay, I will place embedded, and that just simply goes out and grabs it. I choose Tips and Tools, and let's see, comic page template. There it is. Okay, and we'll place it. And I created this special template that will always be the size of the page that it should be, and it just falls right into there. You don't mess with it. You don't rasterize it. You don't change it at all. You're just going to keep it here temporarily. You notice I have it transparent. It's really just a big transparent rectangle with a hole in the middle of it. So I'm going to operate all my changes on the bottom layer here. Hit that move tool. And right here, okay, right here in the corner, I'm going to move my page so that it fits that. And now let's move over to the right side, and I'm sorry, but I had to see what I was doing here. So, okay, it looks like it's I think it's okay. Let's try distorting it. We'll go edit, transform, distort, and there's another way. I can go up there, and now I know for sure it's on the corner, as the correct corner as it should be. Here it's not on the corner at all, so we'll go ahead and distort that. And then lastly, the bottom left corner here, that one was way off. Okay. Hit the return. Command 0 to look at the whole document as a whole. Now, on my scanned and mosaiced, 3 pieces now as 1 piece comic book page, I know the inside is lining up to the inside of my template. And now I want to cut away all this extra stuff that I left out there. So you choose the template layer, you hit the magic wand tool and click anywhere outside, and then you select inverse, and at this point you can get rid of the template layer entirely, just delete it. Now you're ready to go crop, image crop, and then hit deselect. Right, get rid of the marching ants. And it's almost ready, but I have these little gaps here. All right, so what I want to do is I just create a new layer on top and choose pure white at 100% opacity. It's going to be opaque, and then just paint bucket, creating a new layer that's solid white, and we'll move that layer underneath my art layer, and then do that merge down tool again, that command E. There we go. And then after this, it's a case of fixing things up a little bit, getting out the paint tool, and just, as they say, fix it in Photoshop, get rid of the noise. I've already done this page before, and so like this little thing, the door frame on the truck is actually parallel to the roof line, and I made a mistake. I guess I was doing things in perspective a little bit, and then forgot I was doing it in perspective. I don't know what happened here, but the first time I made this page, I went and corrected that. I just selected it in Photoshop and moved it down and did a little editing. And there's a lot of stuff that you'll need to do to get this print ready. Another special trick I do, which I think is coming up in the next tutorial, is taking out some of these lines and turning them into colored lines. You have a layer that's going to be the colored lines, leaving behind the layer that's the black lines. But anyway, in a nutshell, that's how you scan and get the Photoshop page ready for doing further work on it. So there you have it. You don't need to go out and buy the largest and most expensive scanner that you can find if you know how to scan your page in 3 small increments. Scanners are cheap and plentiful in the standard 8.5 by 11 inch format. No reason to spend $400 on a studio quality unit. Thanks very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to this video tutorial and hit the like button to get the algorithm up and get more people exposed to this. Your work is very important. I think that you should keep working on your comic book stuff and your creative stuff, whether it's writing, inking, lettering, coloring, no matter what it is. You're producing something that's valuable to the world, and the world needs it. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.